Hey guys, welcome back. So, I recently picked up an old Epiphone Les Paul Special 2 from the pawn shop, and I got it for a steal. I got it for $125, and this thing was pretty much brand new, with the exception of a broken toggle switch. So I got it with the intention of completely redoing the guitar into kind of a Les Paul Jr. style, so that is what I am doing today. So the first thing I did was disassembly. This was pretty easy, especially since the neck of the guitar was bolt-on, which is, I know, a sin when you're talking about Les Pauls, but for my purposes, it made life a little bit easier. To get the paint off, at first I tried Citrus Strip. I heard really good things about this stuff, and unfortunately, it just didn't seem to work for me. I don't know if it was because it was kind of cold outside, or if it was the thickness of the polyurethane lacquer that is on the guitar body, but I tried a variety of methods, including sanding down the finish a little bit to give it some more purchase, and no luck. It really didn't do anything to the guitar, and I left it for a while, so I don't know, maybe I did something wrong, but it just wasn't working for me. So back to the drawing board, I just broke out the orbital sander and took off the finish the old-fashioned way. And we are sanded. So this thing held quite a few surprises, namely, there's actually a mahogany veneer on the back. I don't know why they would do that, because it was covered in paint, maybe marketing, so they could say it was part mahogany body, but if you look here, there was actually a little bump in the veneer where it like bubbled up, and as I was sanding it flat, it kind of sanded through. So I just took some wood filler and made a little repair on that, and I have a plan for how to conceal that later. But also, if you look at the front, body is alder as far as I can tell, and it's got some pretty cool like grain marks on the sides. But the front is also veneered, but with a different type of wood. Strange, and I didn't think it was veneered, but I accidentally sanded through over here, and you can see it definitely is. So, unfortunately, the mahogany, which I don't know why they would put it on the back and not the front, other than, like, if you're gonna put mahogany on a thing, even if you're gonna paint it, why not put it on the front? But whatever, so I cannot do the original plan with this, which was to do a TV yellow finish, because you really need the mahogany on the front to be there so that you can treat the grain in a certain way, yada yada yada. So now we're gonna go with plan B, and that is to use this stuff. This is some Krylon Color Max Paint and Primer Gloss Bauhaus Gold. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I really like this stuff. And what I'm going to do is kind of a hybrid of techniques. If you've been a fan of the show for any period of time, you know that when there are imperfections in a material that doesn't compromise the functional integrity of said piece, I like to keep them showing more often than not. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a clear coat on the back and a clear coat kind of halfway up the sides, and on the front I'm gonna paint it this color and have it be pretty solid, because to be frank, this veneer is very boring and I messed up the sanding a little bit, so paint is in order. I've taped over all the parts that I don't want paint to be on, and I think it'll look pretty cool if it goes according to plan. I'll say it again. Why would you paint over this? This looks so good. I mean, it looks terrible right now, but in the future, I can tell that I will be saying, this looks so good. Man, I'm excited. This is gonna look great. I'm gonna go ahead and skip through all of the sanding. By the way, in the future, do you want to watch me do like all the sanding on a thing? I think it would be kind of boring, but I don't know. So let me know if you want to see that. But for now, we're gonna jump ahead. Man, answered my own question. This came out great. Should have filmed it. I just went through, I did 250, then 400, then 1,000 grit sandpaper, and just knocked off all of the paint, and then there's still that same varnish. That clear varnish is still underneath. There's a few spots where the actual wood is poking through, but I was able to get a nice clean line around the headstock, which is the style that Epiphone does with their, production guitars. And when spray painting, at first you want to do a light coat, barely dust the thing, and then go back and do some proper layers. So that's the route I took, and turned out pretty well. And then I went straight to that neck, and I laid down some varnish on that neck, and it just immediately looked awesome, so I'm very happy with that. For For that spot on the back of the guitar, I had an idea for how to cover it up. I had a little sticker that's the perfect size to cover it up, and it's a little piece of Americana for my Chinese guitar. Then I hit the whole thing with a coat of varnish, and it turned out mostly okay, but there's some stuff that I can improve. And here we are. It's been about a week just to let everything kind of cure up. I am pretty happy with how the color on the front turned out. I definitely think satin is the way to go just to cover up any mistakes I may have made, and also it's cheap Gibson style guitar, so matte I think is the way to go for that ever so punk rocky vibe. I really dig seeing all the striations and these like dark spots, and I just think it looks really cool and has a really unique look. So happy with that. Now getting to the back, this is where I got some complaints. So like right here, you can see these white spots are where the existing finish is still very thick, and then right here, you can see it actually sanded down to just the bare wood and it got very dark. So I'm gonna try it again. I am going to carefully remove my sticker there, and then I'm going to sand off as much as I can, as carefully as I can, all of the finish, and try to get the whole thing to be this dark, kind of consistent color, and if I can do that, well, I might just be happy. So giving the back a good proper sanding, this went pretty smoothly. I just used 100-something grit and then 200-something grit to get through the varnish and down to the natural wood. I took it out back and hit it with some lacquer, and right away I could tell it was the correct decision. I also hit the headstock with a little bit of that matte varnish that I'm using just to get it to look cohesive, you know. And that, my friends, is what we in the YouTube industry call really hopefully good enough. For the back cavity cover, I wasn't happy with the structural quality of the one the guitar came with, so I went and 3D printed a new one. Now for the pickguard on the front, I really wanted to get kind of a Les Paul Jr. style pickguard, so I 3D printed myself a few different templates, ultimately wound up taking an existing Les Paul Jr. style pickguard and modifying it to fit around the humbucker and around one of my knobs there on the bottom of the guitar, and honestly, I think it turned out pretty great. I 3D printed these little masks to go around my frets, and then I just hit them with some 1500 grit sandpaper just to polish them up, make them look a little nicer. For the tuners, I went and got some Geiger tuners. They're knockoff Grover tuners, but I like the vintage style, and honestly, even though they were only $10, they were better than what the guitar came with, so I consider it an upgrade, and I've been using them for a little while now, no issues. And then it was just a matter of reassembly, the neck bolted back on. And then, of course, because I am the one who is building this, I messed something up. Okay, I've got some explaining to do. So I got a drop of super glue on the body of the guitar, and in one of my characteristically sporadic attempts to try to fix it, I wound up getting lacquer on the guitar pickups. I have fixed them by lacquering them all the way, but they look okay. Not too bad. Unfortunately, I also got lacquer on the pickup covers, so I have gone and hit them with Rust-Oleum triple thick glaze, which is very shiny. The lacquer I got on them was the matte stuff, so I think they actually look pretty good, and I hope they don't look too bad. Also, I got it in my head that I should try to do the same thing to the pickguard, and it worked. So that's the type of result that makes my behavior incorrigible. And with that final crisis averted, I went ahead and strung up the guitar with some new strings, and this thing was ready to play. In the end, I am very happy with how the guitar turned out. There were several points during this build that, admittedly, I could have done better, so I am very glad that none of those amateurish mistakes were irredeemable. There were two big lessons from this. It's that you can make some pretty big mistakes when working on guitars, and as long as you're calm and patient, kind of slowly back out of your incorrect decision, you can fix most things. And I also reinforced the knowledge within myself that closer you get to the end of a project, the more careful you have to be. Really tempting to kind of push through a project and rush to finish once you see it coming together, but that's the time where mistakes are going to be the most devastating. So be very careful However, I love it so much more than when I took it out of that pawn shop. And now taking a look at it, I don't see a $125 abandoned, broken pawn shop guitar. I see something that I'm really proud of and that I'm really excited to play. Thanks for watching, everybody. Links and stuff down below, and there's a video popping up right now that I think you'll enjoy if you enjoyed this one. See you guys next time.